Hi, this is Tony Arricchetti again, and I wanted to give you some of the objectives for Capstone 801 and 802. So the main thing I'm going to do is to outline some of the objectives and the outcomes of these two courses and help you to plan what to expect. And also, I'll be going into this in more detail in subsequent videos. So I wanted to just give you basically the big strokes of these two courses. Capstone 801 is really about your project design, which is really the foundation of your project. I'll get into this in a couple minutes, but it will lead to project implementation in 802. The first thing to do, though, is to refer to the syllabus. This is going to be really your guidance in how to structure your capstone project, and it provides guidelines and so forth, but things to help keep you in on track and on course when developing your project. The other thing you want to pay attention to in the syllabus is the calendar of events, including setting up 4 appointments with me, and we'll have at least 4 hopefully Zoom contacts lasting up to an hour or so, and we'll discuss the progress of your project. At that time, you'll bring up any issues that you're encountering and so forth. And really encourage you to do this because it's really a great way for me to keep abreast of what you're doing and answer any of your questions. So in 801, you're going to really start to identify an educational project suitable for human, mechanical, or hybrid simulations. And the thing to keep in mind is that it should be practical, useful, and doable in a healthcare environment in the time that you have to complete both 801 and 802. You don't want to design a project that is going to be out of control and won't be able to get implemented. Sometimes in reality it takes a year or two to implement a project because of logistics, dealing with staff, scheduling. There's a lot of things that have to go on when you're coming up with a project in reality. So here you want to make sure that it's practical, useful, and doable, and deal with some of the logistical issues. In chapter 1, you're going to write your introduction, and you'll find the template for how to complete this in the 801 Blackboard section. And the introduction would really include background information, give us an overview of your project, and perhaps the context of your project. And this could have to do with the context locally where you work, or perhaps even the historical context of what it is you are trying to accomplish. So for example, perhaps you want to develop an assessment protocol for your learners, and perhaps it's never been done before. So anyway, you'd want to outline some of the issues in chapter 1. And then in chapter 2, you're going to review the literature on the topics that you've decided to focus on. You want to get a thorough understanding of the topic by reviewing the literature out there. And I would say a minimal number of articles to review would be at least 20 if you want to do a substantial project. You want to get a good understanding of what's going on. You want to identify areas of research in the literature or areas that haven't been researched, and that would be good to know. Perhaps it's the first time that whatever you're going to do has been attempted. And you want to try to identify similar work that's been done in your field. Now, I'll get into the writing of the literature review in a subsequent video, but this is just an overview of what you need to be thinking about now. And the literature is really looking at what's been done. There's very little original work out there. We all kind of build on everybody else's work. We borrow. There's hardly anything out there in research that hasn't been based on the work of previous people. So you want to start gathering up your literature, and maybe you already have this right now. The other chapter 3, is you want to outline your project methods. So for example, looking at the subjects or the learners, identifying who it is you're going to be working with. Perhaps you're going to be developing a curriculum. Perhaps your project is really about a simulation education project, so you want to be able then to develop the curriculum and how it will be delivered. Perhaps you're going to be either using or developing assessment rubrics, so you want to spell this out in this chapter. How are you going to actually be measuring skills? Perhaps it might be a pre-post study. Rater training, I'll get into this in subsequent videos, but often rater training is something that gets done on the fly and isn't very substantial, and that can undermine your results. If the raters who are gathering your data aren't sufficiently trained, then you may not get good results. And then finally, you want to let us know how you intend to analyze the data that you will collect. And as I mentioned, you want to complete your capstone project on the template that's provided. And in 801, you will be doing some project presentations in the form of synchronous sessions. Occasionally, I'll try to set up meetings with you as a group so that you can hear each other's progress, and so that you won't work alone. I think sometimes students, in my experience, when they're having problems, think that they're the only ones that are going through this, and it's helpful to understand how other people are handling the problems that they're encountering. And then at the end of the course, we'll be setting up a presentation for all of you to present your work to everyone. Now in 802, you've developed a project that's doable. Now is time to start implementing it. And the thing to keep in mind is that you can keep refining and editing chapters 1 to 3, that as you start to do your work, you may find that you want to make some changes. This is an iterative process. I always think that chapters 1 to 3 aren't done until the whole thing is over. In chapter 4, you would present your findings or the data, and in chapter 5, you would then write up your conclusions. What have you learned from the findings? What are the implications? What recommendations would you make based on what you've learned? And then, of course, you're going to be including any references or appendices. And the appendices could include curriculum materials, assessment rubrics. Anything that you're using during your project could be included here. And as I mentioned, the project presentations for 801 will also apply to 802. You want to be able to, again, review things with your colleagues, and we'll be also doing a presentation at the end of the course. So in the next video, I'm going to go over issues of capstone mentoring and consulting, what's available to you as a support system. And with that, I thank you.